So I'm now very pleased to introduce Dr. Dale Timothy White, who's also part of our 117-year tradition of Con Strong at the University of Maryland. Dr. White is a most distinguished alum of our department, where he received his Ph.D. in public communication. Dr. White's career is most impressive and multifaceted. He has impressively and uniquely distinguished himself not in just one career or two careers, but actually 3 careers. In addition to earning his Ph.D., Dr. White served for 30 years in the U.S. Air Force, where he achieved the rank of Brigadier General. He distinguished himself in the field of public diplomacy in particular, producing messages that were disseminated to the world community in times of great international complexity and turmoil. Dr. White, though, has also been a filmmaker, producing documentaries for PBS and such public figures as Margaret Mead and Leonard Bernstein. And while in the military and as a filmmaker, Dr. White's work took him around the world as he worked in Russia, New Guinea, India, Europe, Afghanistan, the Middle East, and Africa. And Dr. White has also served as a newscaster. He worked as a reporter, an anchor, and a producer of NBC, Fox, ABC, and PBS affiliates. He has won 6 Emmy Awards for his work in television. He hosted a PM magazine show in Baltimore, so some of you who are local may actually recognize him. He's also hosted a show in Hollywood in Paramount Studios, and in 2005, Dr. White was inducted into the Radio and Television Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Such a storied career necessitated that Dr. White draw on his expertise in communication with great sensitivity to culture, showing necessary skills in storytelling, argument building, and establishing the credibility needed to earn the public trust. And Dr. White is also a student of history. Through his work with the Buffalo Bills Center of the West, he is collaborating with our Rosenberg Center for Political Communication and Civic Leadership to help us recover speeches before they are lost to time. We share a deep devotion to preserving that complex and important history, so we thank you so much for your contributions to that project. So I'm most pleased to welcome Dr. General Tim White back to campus. Please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Dr. Perry-Giles, it's delightful to have the opportunity to be here with all these terms. It's got a lot. Isn't this a handsome group of people, a marvelous group of graduates? Yes, they are, and yes, you are. I was listening. Do you mind if I take this off? If I had the good sense to decorate my mortarboard the way some of you did, I'd leave it on. I was listening to Dr. Perry-Giles list of various things that I've done in my career, both before and after I left the campus here at College Park. And it occurred to me, that sounds like a guy who can't hold a job. But I am fully aware of the responsibility of being your commencement speaker. It's not all good. It's kind of, well, it's kind of like being the person who's called on to sing the national anthem at an Orioles game. You know, nobody came to see him, but it's not really official till somebody does it. So I am honored to be that somebody who was asked to give their commencement address. It does seem like only about a week ago that I was dashing from fast food at the Stamp over to the McKelvin to check a few facts and then run over to an office building to get a paper in 30 seconds before it was due. But it wasn't last week. It was over 25 years ago, long before most of you were born. Later here on campus, there was writing papers, grading papers, preparing lectures, hoping that I could share something with the students who look to this university, to me, to offer things that were worthwhile and things that might prepare you for a future that was pretty darn hard to know at that point. But one thing I do know for sure is this university and your new degree will not fail you. Now, that's a very good thing. A very good thing. Because the world is a complex and fragile and often ominous place. Consider these headlines. War and terrorism in many parts of the globe. Under strong, cunning leadership, Russia is rising to be a global menace. Reports of a new strain of disease that may kill hundreds of thousands in the United States and millions around the world. The president is seen as a racist, and most people don't like it. Congress is held in dramatically low regard. Nevertheless, it is about to pass a law, no kidding, that would jail U.S. citizens for criticizing the United States. The U.S. economy is strong, but many people are left out, and there's a lot of talk about a big crash coming. And waves of immigrants are inspiring fear and backlash across the country. Sobering. But of course, these are not headlines from today. Those are headlines from 1918, 100 years ago. The challenges that you and your generation are facing are not new, but they are accelerating. The stakes are high, and you are up to the challenge. There is a whole new industry, communication specialists out there. You've heard about them. They make their coin by making us all believe that we are living in the worst possible hour of the worst possible day of the worst possible time in all of history. They trade in division, marginalization, ridicule, and often blatant falsehoods. They have done great damage to our country, and a big part of your challenge as new graduates is to be too smart to fall for it and to not help them in their work. Be too principled to play into that. We'll get to more about that in a minute. It's not quite as awful as it sounds. But it is a special pleasure to be talking to this class of communicators here at the University of Maryland. 300 or so graduates. You have 300 different stories, different reasons for what you've chosen to do, what you will do from this point forward, why you chose to do it, who helped you along the way. Your stories range from interviewing radical Islamic extremists on the other side of the world who are about to go off to a war zone in the Middle East, to helping coach and mentor disadvantaged young people right here in College Park and help them with their communication skills. Some of you will go into politics or public affairs. Some of you in media jobs, some into policy and sports administration. Some of you will go to the public sector and to nonprofits, some of the big corporations, a few of you will start your own businesses. You are a remarkable bunch, and as Dr. Paragiles said, 96% of you at least will have a job within 6 months. Your parents are delighted. Okay, now here's the part of the commencement speech where the speaker throws out some random ideas that you may not agree with, but he believes, I believe, may be useful to you one day. Let's just call this front porch wisdom from me. Buy a really good pen and protect it like it was your cell phone, because writing things down on a piece of paper reinforces that thought in your mind. It's just easier to do and more fun with a good pen. Some people agree with that. At work, especially looking for work, keep your tattoos to yourself. Don't eat in your car. Call your mother. Don't assume that people 2 or 3 times your age want you to call them by their first name. If they do, they will let you know. Look other people in the eye. Not with attitude, but with warmth. It opens doors and it opens hearts. Call your mother. All right, now back to the speech. What each of you, what all of us have in common, is a deep desire to move information from one person to another. Information that can inform, inspire, guide, enlighten, alert, assure, teach, or confirm. Of course, the information that you will communicate can also confuse, frighten, mislead, inflame, damage, or even destroy the people you reach. Either way, what you do will matter. As professional communicators for the University of Maryland, the choice is in your hands. These choices whacked me over the head pretty early in life. If I could just draw a quick picture here, I am at 14 years old on my red motor scooter, heading out to the small radio station just outside of a small town in the Midwest where I grew up. I talked my way into a job as the high school news reporter for WCRM Radio, 990 AM on your radio dial in Clare, Michigan. Now when I say small, it really was. It was the only station in town. And it was 250 watts daylight direction. I came on the air when the sun came up, had to sign off when the sun went down. And the whole power of the place was 250 watts. We had light bulbs more powerful than this radio station. But that small station was the connective tissue of my hometown and the even smaller towns that surrounded it. The weather, the rain and livestock reports, the high school football scores, these things all really mattered. And people talked about what they heard on the radio. They talked about it in the coffee shops, and they listened in the car, and then they would talk about it at school, and they would listen at home, and little transistor radios that we would have on late at night. We'd listen to the radio stations on transistor radios after we were supposed to have already been asleep. It was amazing. And in the back room of that little radio station, clattering away, was the UPI teletype machine. Have any of you ever heard of a teletype machine? You ever seen one? Teletype machines were essentially like typewriters that were connected to a phone line. This was long before the internet. But here in this little town of Clare, Michigan, clattering away, feeding reams of paper into it was the UPI teletype machine. And here came the stories. I would tear apart the pages and stack them up. The assassination of President Kennedy, the Vietnam War, in the South, civil rights marches and demonstrations. The World Series, 7 games between the Dodgers and the Twins. People were listening all over the place, talking about it, all over Clare, Michigan. And what they heard, they believed. And what we said mattered, because the integrity of our word as communicators, as broadcasters, or journalists in print, was absolutely unviable and unassailable. There I was, a kid pulling stories off the wire, running to the newsroom with a squeaky, breaking voice at that point, and a pretty bad voice, a kid making $1 an hour, who felt connected, really connected to the world, and who developed a firm conviction that what we said and what we did mattered. Ironically, each of you, every one of you, can now do what that radio station did. And you can do it from your laptop. You can develop a large audience. You can gather information from all over the globe. You can reach people's hearts. You can touch people's minds. All of these things are within the power of what you do every day. Of course, you can also use that power to show cat videos. It really is up to you. In a moment, I'm going to get very serious, and then we'll wind up this week. But first, I'd like to take, if you will allow me, one more trip to the front porch here. See good movies twice. Read the Bible, whether you read it as literature or as history or for spiritual guidance. Much of Western civilization has risen from its pages. It's the cultural touchstone of much of what you will do in your careers. And it won't hurt at all, especially this stuff by St. Paul. When you get your first big job out of college, remember this. Be fired with enthusiasm. Or you may be fired with enthusiasm. If you read only one magazine, online or on paper, make it The Economist. It will do you present and future good. We are in the armory. Now, there are, of course, no firearms here. But this is where many of your fellow students train to serve in the U.S. military after graduation. Consider joining them. Only 1% of our population serves in uniform. They are among the finest people walking the planet. And if you choose not to serve, respect those who do. Call your mother. Now, here's the serious part. As a communicator, whatever your particular job might be, you hold truth in your hands every day. You may have heard the talk going around that we are in a post-truth world, a post-truth society, that there are alternative facts, that the truth is impossible to know, and even if we knew it, if it was right in front of us, it doesn't matter because no one cares anyway. Nothing could be further from the truth. After the Dark Ages, the Enlightenment gave us a respect for facts, for experience, and for expertise. The founding documents of this country, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, were based on Enlightenment values and Enlightenment ideas, recognizing, even embracing complexity and the need for evidence, the need for truth. And that helped create a democracy that respects ideas, respects, and then ideas can compete for your support and eventually compete for your vote. That is what the Enlightenment had in mind, and that is the fundamental thing at stake with respecting facts. Democracy must be based on facts and truth. Without confidence in ideas, without confidence in truth, we're merely creatures of our emotions. We are easy to manipulate, easy to inflame, easy to enlist and destroy the freedom of others and that of ourselves. Now, there are a lot of people who stand to benefit from an erosion of the truth and creating a world where only emotions, grievance, and victimhood matter. A world where facts and tolerance of different ideas are left somewhere deep in the dust. At this moment, this very moment, there are hundreds, probably thousands of professional communicators around the world, in old warehouses in Eastern Europe, and maybe some in dorms here in College Park, who are engaged in eroding your right to the truth. These are the troll farms feeding massive amounts of false, misleading information to millions of websites. Make no mistake about their goal, it's not just to make money. They're out to destroy confidence in a person, or a product, or an idea, or in democracy itself. Pope Francis has compared modern disinformation campaigns to the book of Genesis in the Bible, where the serpent offers Eve the apple through lies to persuade her to take a bite of an evil fruit. Importantly, we are not just talking about politicians here. We're talking about marketers, ideologues, crooks, demagogues, and some really evil and strange people who seem to delight in cultural and intellectual vandalism. They may want to hire you, by the way. They may come up with a great job for you. It might be appealing to think you might want to work for them. I once asked a friend of mine who was employed by the Tobacco Institute, the now defunct lobbying arm of that industry. I said, Bill, why do you work for them? And he said, well, the good guys don't have any money. He was right. Fair enough. He made his choice. You will make your choice. Be thoughtful about whom you work for and what you do for them. Those choices are going to follow you for the rest of your life, through every step of your career. Remember, too, that the work that you do as communicators from the University of Maryland can be more important to truth and to our democracy than even your vote. I'm confident that you're going to make the right choice. And if you find yourself uncertain, confused, in need of guidance, call your mother. Congratulations and thank you.